Consider a student loan of $25,000 at a fixed APR of 6% over 20 years. A. Calculate the monthly payment. Notice in parentheses, do not round until the final answer, then round to the nearest cent as needed. B. Determine the total amount paid over the term of the loan, round to the nearest cent as needed. And C. Of the total amount paid, what percentage is paid toward the principal and what percentage is paid for interest? In order to calculate these particular answers, we're going to have to start with the fact that we need the formula for a monthly payment based upon a loan and a fixed APR of monthly payments. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this formula right here. PMT is equal to P times APR over N divided by 1 minus 1 plus APR over N raised to the quantity and raised to the power negative NY. So when we do this, we need to understand what PMT is, what P is, what APR is, what N is, and what Y is. Alright, so for this problem, we're going to go ahead and look and see exactly what all of these are going to be equivalent to. And we'll go ahead and we will start with the fact that PMT, which is in blue, will be the payment required to repay the loan. P, in red, is the loan amount. APR is the interest rate as a decimal, and that's in purple. N, which is in a light purple color, is going to be the number of payments per year. And big Y in fuchsia is going to be the number of years in the life of the loan. So now that we've got that information, let's go ahead and assign these variables numerical amounts. Alright, now for setting up this, what we need to do is we need to understand what every single variable is going to represent. For example, we'll start with payment, PMT, and that's what we're looking for. So our formula is going to be set up as PMT is equal to. And what we want to do is go ahead and assign values to each one of the variables on the right hand side of the equation. So we're going to start with P, the loan amount. That's going to be this right here. We're going to consider a loan of $25,000. So P is equal to $25,000. And that's going to be the first thing that we put into the formula, 25,000. Then we're going to multiply that by APR over N. So we need to decide what is our APR. Well, it's a fixed APR of 6%. So that has to be as a variable. So APR is going to be equal to 0.06. And then the next thing is, after we put that in, is determine what N is, because that's the next variable in our formula. Now remember, N is going to be the number of payments per year. Okay, so we're going to calculate the monthly payment. So that means that N is going to be equal to 12. And you'll note that in this formula, we're going to use this 3 times throughout the formula. Now we're going to divide that by 1 minus 1 plus, and you'll note that we're going to redo the APR over N. So we're going to have 0.06 divided by 12. And then we're going to close those parentheses, and then we're going to have an exponent, and that's going to be negative N, which once again we know is 12. So we're going to have negative 12, and we're going to multiply that by Y, which in this case we have to know exactly how long the number of years in the life is. Well, that's right here. The life of the loan is going to be 20 years, so Y is equal to 20. So then we'll put that right there. Now, one of the things that I'm going to show you is to use an online calculator. And it's going to be similar to using a traditional scientific calculator. And what I want to do is go ahead and enclose the numerator in a set of parentheses and close the denominator in a set of parentheses so that I can type into the online calculator exactly as it's written. Because if you notice, right here it says do not round until the final answer, which means that they want you to go ahead and calculate this all as a single calculation in your calculator. And then it says round to the nearest cent as needed. So we're going to use this calculator that I found online, and it's called Web 2.0 calc.com. And as I said, it works just like a scientific calculator. And you can either do this from a keyboard input, or you can actually use your mouse and you can click each one of these buttons. And so what we're going to do is we're going to type this whole thing right here, this payment equation, into the calculator as it's written. So I start with an open parentheses, and then I'm going to type in, or left click in, 25,000. I'm going to multiply that. Notice that I'm going to open parentheses again because I want to go ahead and put this in a set of parentheses. So I type in 0.06 divided by 12, close the parentheses, and you'll notice now that this right here that I've just highlighted is written exactly as I have it in the fraction on this particular part of the formula. Now I'm going to divide that, and now I'm into the denominator. So we open parentheses, we type in 1 minus, and then I'm going to have to open parentheses again and type in 1 plus. I'm going to open parentheses one more time because I should have put parentheses around this just like I had up in the numerator. And then I'm going to type in, or click in, 0.06 divided by 12. And you'll notice that these parentheses up here are showing you that they're closed automatically, but you need to make sure that you close them inside the input field here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this set of parentheses, and that's going to be for this right here. Okay, then I'm going to have to go ahead and close this next set of parentheses. And this right here is the entire expression that I've just highlighted that I'm going to raise to the exponent of negative 12 times 20, as indicated right over here if you follow the cursor. So we're going to go ahead and do the exponent, which is going to be this key right here, raised to a higher power. We click that. I'm going to open a set of parentheses again to type in the full exponent, and that's going to be negative 12, negative 12 times 20. I'm going to close those parentheses again. Okay? And now you'll notice that this set of parentheses has been closed. These two sets of parentheses have been closed. However, this last one has not, so we're going to have to go ahead and close it. And this really is what happens to a lot of students where they get the incorrect answer, is they have not closed the parentheses correctly, and they have not inputted the numbers correctly. Now you'll notice up here where I've just highlighted in blue, it is exactly how I've got this entire formula typed in. So we'll go ahead and left click equals, and I get this answer right here, 179.1077. So that means that the monthly payment will be $179.11. So PMT for this problem is going to be equal to 179.11. And that's going to be your answer for part A. And so in my math lab, part A is going to look like this, and you're going to simply enter 179.11 in the input field. You'll either hit enter or check answer, and then it'll come back and tell you what the correct answer is. So the next part is to make sure that we have done part B, which is determine the total amount paid over the term of the loan. We're going to round the nearest cent as needed. Well, that one's not going to be all that difficult because we know that the total amount paid over the term of the loan, Part B, is going to be found by taking the monthly payment, so total amount, is going to be the monthly payment, and we're going to multiply that by 12, which is the number of months in the billing cycle, which is 1 year, and then we're going to multiply that by 20. So for this particular part of the problem, we just simply take the 179.11, we multiply that by 12 by 20, so 179.11 times 12 times 20. And then when we calculate that out, we get our total amount. And so when we do this, we end up with a total amount of $42,986.40. And so that's what we would enter into our answer field. So we'd have $42,986.40. That's the total amount paid out over 20 years. And then the next part is, of the total amount paid, what percentage is paid toward the principal and what percentage is paid for interest? Alright, of the total amount paid, what percentage is paid toward the principal and what percentage is paid towards interest? Well, for this part of the problem, all we're going to do is we're going to take the initial loan amount, which is $25,000, and we're going to divide that by the total amount that we've paid out, which is going to be $42,986.40. And yeah, and then we're going to multiply that by 100. And that's going to give us the percent that 25,000 is of $42,986.40. So when we type this into the calculator and click enter or equals, we're going to end up with 58.16%. And the problem says round to the nearest tenth is needed, so we're going to say this is actually 58.2%. Okay? Which means that if we pay out $25,000, or if the amount of the loan is $25,000 and we've paid $42,000 over the life of the loan, if we subtract these two values right here, we're going to have the amount of money that we have paid out in interest. And that's going to yield an amount of $17,986.40. So this is interest. And the interest is going to represent the balance of the percentage that did not go to principal. So since the principal amount, $25,000, is 58.2% of the total, that means that the interest paid of $17,986.40 is going to be 41.8% of the total. And both of these is total paid. Now, alternatively, you could have taken the $17,986.40 and divided it by the total amount paid of $42,986.40, multiplied that by 100, and that would have been approximately equal to 41.8%.